Debbie Wasserman Schultz is a Democrat from Florida, one of the more annoying ones. Oh, you can't cut money from the government school program. Why is that? Cut 7, go.
I was at a child care center in my district on Monday, Jank, and literally stood with moms who, when they lose their child care as a result of the cuts in H.R. 1, they're going to have to stop working, they're not going to be able to send their kids to school, and they won't get an early childhood education. And we know that cuts like that will directly lead to kids becoming criminals later on. We know there's that direct proportional relationship. So we've got to make sure that the cuts are the right cuts as well.
Oh, I'm out. Got this fit? Okay, so if we cut any money from these programs, we're creating criminals. Then my suggestion is we increase the spending 10 times. That way we can wipe out criminal behavior altogether in this nation. Isn't this fascinating? They jack up the budget by hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, and when you want to start cutting, you can't, because we'll create criminals. Is this the best the libs can do? Let me tell you something, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Maybe you should walk through a few of the neighborhoods where homes are foreclosing, where people are losing their jobs. Maybe you should go through some of those neighborhoods. What happens to those kids? Because that's what you and your damn policies are doing to this country. You're creating more poverty. Or more criminality, as you would put it. Now, folks, I want you to think about this argument just for a second. If she's right, let's just call it Program A. If we cut money from Program A, that these little kids, when they get older, will become criminals, then don't we need to increase money for Program A at all times? And then I would ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz, well, then how much should we pay for this program? What's the magic number? How is it that the magic number is whatever you propose? How is it the magic number can never be to reduce spending? How is it that shifting money from a community to the federal government is going to help prevent criminality at the community level? Now, this is an important point, ladies and gentlemen, because this is how liberalism, or as I call it, statism, works. It's the big lie. That if you don't do what they tell you to do, if you don't spend what they tell you to spend, if you don't live how they tell you to live, the sky's going to fall. Now, the fact that the federal government has created so many children out of wedlock through its policies, particularly in poor areas, by basically paying for it through welfare, or the notion that the federal government is involved in creating more unemployment because of its destructive policies vis-a-vis the private sector, that eludes her. I'm just trying to figure out what are the limits to this philosophy that she has and that the liberals have. If we need government to eat, if we need government to prevent little kids from being criminals, if we need government for all these things, what's left for us to do? She's a demagogue. She's a liar. And the faster these liberals talk, the more you know that they're lying. They talk very fast these days. Except Obama. He's but, you know, there are exceptions to the rule. They're not going to be able to send their kids to school, and they won't get an early childhood education. Now, do we not have government schools? Are we not going broke paying for these schools? What are we supposed to do? Take these kids as soon as they're born, put them into some kind of camp or education system? Make sure they follow whatever menu the First Lady puts out? This reads like Plato's Republic, or something of that sort. Debbie Wasserman Schultz wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. I say this, if we don't slash these programs, if we don't cut the federal government 20% across the board, excluding the United States military, excluding the FBI and intelligence agencies and so forth, that is what the government's supposed to do, there's going to be a lot of little kids without a lot of stuff. So I guess a lot of criminals when they get older. This Congress, I should say the prior Congress and this president, went on a spending binge that mankind has never seen. Never. Not since the beginning of mankind. And it went on that spending binge for 2 solid years. And they're trying to impose their will for the following year. And it's still not enough. Well, what does that tell you? It tells you it's the wrong model. It tells you that it can't succeed. If you're bankrupting a nation, and doing it by claiming you're going to drive unemployment down, and yet you don't. Doing it by claiming that you're going to save home ownership, and yet you don't. Doing it by claiming that you're going to feed everybody and make sure they're all educated, but you don't. Then where are we going with this? What is it? We're just not doing it right? We need to spend more? Need a few more programs? Now notice Debbie Wasserman Schultz completely ignores the GAO reported the other day, which said that there's $100 to $200 billion in waste through duplication on programs like the one she's defending. That's $100, $200 billion that can be cut without affecting the substance of what these programs are supposed to do, just by creating more efficiencies. Does she support that? No. Does she call for a vote to cut $100 or $200 billion and integrate one agency with the next or one program with the next? No. She doesn't. Because she hates the private sector and she loves big government. They're not going to cut anything. They don't care about efficiencies. They don't care if there's 4,000 programs for hunger, or 10,000 programs for education. I'm overstating it, but 40, 50, 60, 80. Doesn't matter to them. They don't care. So it's Debbie Wasserman Schultz who's hurting our children and trying to destroy their future with her bankrupt philosophy that's bankrupting this country. And she's not the only one, of course. There's a whole party built around this economic model and this disastrous ideology. A whole party that's been hijacked. It was interesting, Peter, the liberal, called me last hour, and he was talking about John Kennedy being a Democrat. Even Eisenhower, he thought, was closer to the Democrat. Isn't it interesting that they choose these relatively moderate Democrats and moderate Republicans when, in fact, the Democrat Party is nothing like that anymore? The Democrat Party is run by the Pelosi's of the world, the Obamas of the world. And for Reid to hang on as majority leader in the Senate, he has to do his Ted Kennedy impersonation. Don't tell us about John Kennedy and Ike. Party has nothing to do with that. Your party's anti-national security. They obviously supported it. Anti-tax cuts. They obviously did that too. Yes, Eisenhower cut taxes too. As did obviously JFK. And I can go on. The modern Democrat Party's really nothing like anything we've had before. Nothing that I can think of. It's a radical party. It's our European party. It's not the Democrat Party, John Kennedy. It's not a moderate party in any respect. Listen to these people. See what they're doing. Notice Peter didn't bring up George McGovern. That would have been apropos.